Hi, I'm Danielle with Family Voices of Wisconsin. This video is best suited for families who are new to the world of special healthcare needs or disabilities. You may have a young child with special needs, or maybe your child just received a diagnosis. We at Family Voices know firsthand how complicated these early years and those early conversations can be. First, I want to reassure you that it's all going to be okay. And second, that we are here to help you get started and figure out this new landscape. Family Voices of Wisconsin is an affiliate of National Family Voices and serves as Wisconsin's HRSA-funded family-to-family health information center. We are also part of the statewide network serving children and youth with special health care needs, supported by Wisconsin's Title V program. Our work is primarily focused on three areas. One, developing easy to understand information for families through newsletters, fact sheets, trainings, and videos, just like this one. Two, providing family leadership opportunities. And three, our involvement in systems change and public policy initiatives. Here's what I'll be covering in this short video. I'll welcome you to the world of advocacy, including some tips when it comes to talking with others about your child. Then a bit about what an advocate is and some examples of what advocacy looks like, because there's more to it than you think. Next, as an extension of advocacy, we'll talk about how you can be a partner alongside professionals in making decisions for your child. We'll talk about what that partnership might look like and how you can handle those feelings of hesitation that sometimes come up when you're working side by side with professionals. Welcome to the world of being an advocate. Everyone advocates for their kids. We look out for them, make sure they're being treated fairly and kindly. But when you have a child with special health care needs, that advocacy can look a little bit different. Talking with friends, family, and even to strangers about your child's disability or health condition is the very first step to advocacy. I think you'll find as time goes on that advocacy is much like the layers of an onion. It starts at the very center by advocating for your child with close family members. Then at that next layer, you're advocating for your child with their peers or your friends. Then you'll be advocating in new environments outside the home. And before you know it, you're advocating on behalf of other families too through community involvement. The more you share with people, the easier it gets. You'll probably find that over time you develop a sort of elevator speech as a way of explaining things to others. For example, a colleague whose son uses a wheelchair learned to respond to questions from his friends by explaining his diagnosis of cerebral palsy and that he could not bear weight on his legs or balance. To other children who might ask, she would simply say, "This is his way of moving. It's hard for his muscles, so he gets to use this cool chair, and he likes to go fast." Remember that you decide how much detail to share or not share. Your message can also be tailored depending on who you're talking with. The detail you share with your child's teachers or a daycare provider might be very different than how you explain things to the neighbor or the mom of one of your child's friends. And if a stranger at the park or a child asks, you may need to have yet another way to explain. Safety. Talking about a new diagnosis is especially important for those spending time with our kids when we aren't with them, to explain why they might act a certain way or say or not say certain things. You may want to prioritize sharing a new medical diagnosis with a daycare provider or a grandparent that cares for your child. One parent told me when their child was diagnosed with epilepsy, they made it a mission to make sure everyone knew including the recess staff at the elementary school, feeling that the more people that knew what to look for, the safer their child would be. I know this can sound like a lot, but don't worry. Through practice and experience, you'll find the right balance between what makes sense to your listener and the amount of detail that you're comfortable sharing. So, what is an advocate? It's broadly defined as someone that speaks up on behalf of another person. As parents, we often do this for our own families, but we've probably advocated for others around us too. When your child is very little, we advocate for them in every facet of life. And as they get older, that advocacy can and should shift and change. So, what does advocacy look like? Well, it takes many forms. Speaking up for your child directly. This can look like talking with teachers or sharing concerns with healthcare providers. Finding your child's allies. Sometimes we need to make someone else our child's advocate. For one family, a parent made a point of getting to know all the school recess staff, and in turn, they would look out for their child and step in when needed, effectively making this third party an advocate for their child. Think about this a moment. Who are your child's allies? Consider being proactive and reaching out to them because they're in a great position to be powerful advocates too. It also looks like advocacy when we navigate systems and the programs that our kids depend on. As your child grows, parents encounter new programs and systems at school, in healthcare settings, and in the community. And in these places, your advocacy may need to expand. For example, parents advocate when we contact a support agency to ask about signing our child up for a new recreation program, including any special accommodations that may be needed so they can participate. In order for our kids to be part of the community, we need to speak up for them and make sure they have what's needed. That's also advocacy. Here's a few more examples of what advocacy can look like. Taking the time to learn about programs. Advocacy also looks a lot like time. Take the time to learn about programs that can benefit your child. Some of the programs and services our kids depend upon are complicated. Be open to learning how these systems work so you can navigate them smoothly. That effort will come back to you and your child 10 times over because you'll really understand how things function and how to navigate within the program to get as much benefit from it as possible. Creating space. Advocacy can also take the form of giving someone else the spotlight. For example, a dad shared with me that this would happen to them in a restaurant when his son would order and the waitstaff would have a follow-up question, and they'd often turn to the parent with that follow-up question for a response. As his advocate, dad would politely tell them they can ask his child the question. He said that he's glad to help his son answer it if he needs it, but that he can answer their question, so he should be asked it. So sometimes advocacy can take the form of holding the stage for our kids to use their voice, whether that be by speaking, interpreting, using picture cards, or another form of technology. Advocacy also takes the form of being a partner in decisions. As your child grows, you will encounter new programs and services, and you'll need to become comfortable advocating in these new situations at school, with medical professionals, and with community providers. It's important to remember that you are a partner in any decision about your child. I remember when a new specialist wanted my son to spend a long time in the hospital for testing that he had just had not long before at another clinic. I felt strongly that this was duplicating what had already been done, it would be super disruptive to his routines and our family life. Ultimately, they decided the testing from the other clinic was enough, but if I hadn't said something, we would have spent several days in the hospital repeating a test that it turns out wasn't needed to be done twice. In that moment, I was the only advocate he's got, and if I didn't speak up, there wasn't anyone else there that would. By partnering with the healthcare team, you're much more likely to ensure that your child receives the best possible care. Complicated feelings can sometimes come up when we assert ourselves as partners in decisions. It used to be that interactions between parents and professionals were somewhat one direction. They spoke and we did what they told us to. That's changing, and most professionals now welcome parent advocates as a partner in their child's healthcare decisions. Even still, it can feel a little awkward at first to ask questions about medical guidance or to clarify recommendations. Those feelings are common. The more often you advocate, those feelings will pass. Treat your connection to professionals like you would any relationship. The good ones require teamwork. Generally, parents want professionals to be knowledgeable, sensitive, good listeners, and willing to spend a little time with us. In the past, that dynamic between physician and parent may have been one-sided, but today those relationships are evolving. Parents are empowered to have a more active role in their child's health, so seek out providers that welcome you as a partner. They have medical expertise, but you are the expert on your child, and working together as a team is what will serve your child best. Speak up. If you don't understand something or if you disagree with the plan, it's okay to say so. Be the advocate your child needs you to be. Remember that you can be a strong advocate while also being clear, direct, and polite. Sometimes as parents, when we're advocating for our kids, for us, it's personal and it's very easy to become emotional. Remember that keeping your cool will make you a more effective advocate and will maintain that very important relationship with the professionals that we need to work with. Calmly explain why you disagree or explain why their recommendation isn't a good fit for your family and ask about possible alternatives. You can speak up and be persistent, but you'll get farther in your advocacy by remembering that the relationship with this professional is important to your child's well-being. As we wrap things up, here are some final thoughts. One is advocacy can sometimes feel a little uncomfortable at first, but know that those feelings will pass. The more that you use your voice and assert yourself as a partner, the more comfortable you'll be with doing so and the easier it will be in those moments. If you should encounter a professional that doesn't initially welcome that partnering relationship, keep trying by being an advocate. Ask questions. The decision-making table is large and round with equal roles sitting at it for everyone. Use your voice to be a partner in your child's care and in their life. Thank you. This concludes our video. To learn more about being your child's best advocate, please visit our website at familyvoiceswi.org and search for the term advocate.